Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of The Blacklist Season 9, Episode 3, the SPK. Coco Vanderwolf is here, half asleep. But you know what? We're going to get into what is a chaotic episode with the return of the great Robert Vesco in the middle of it all.
Yeah, it was great to see him back. There was a lot of stuff that, I really liked about this storyline, and a lot of it had to do with him.
Yeah, and we even have a Agnes cameo at the very, very end, which I'm sure we will have a lot of different conversation about as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
But before we go further here, hit that subscribe button because we're here every week talking the Blacklist with reviews, with theories, previews, all sorts of really, really good stuff, and also some other great shows, including Dexter New Blood premiering this weekend finally.
Yeah, so hit that subscribe button. Also, follow us over on Instagram. Matt and Just TV just posted some new pictures today, so head over there and check it out.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're going to start with some of the positive stuff that we really liked about this episode. This was a suggestion from one of our commenters, Andrea. Hi, Andrea.
Hey.
It was a great suggestion. I really liked it, so we're going to implement that tonight. Let's start with what we liked.
Okay, I really, and maybe some people won't like this, but I liked how kind of just ridiculous a lot of this episode was. Like, it had serious national treasure. There's a clue in the Constitution guy, like going with the John the Baptist's head, like a bell. It felt a lot like they were so afraid of doing anything that could be even just borderline offensive that they were just like, let's just make these artifacts just like as weird and over the top as humanly possible. Like, none of this was even remotely believable, but I weirdly kind of like that.
No, I really like that too. I thought that it did have that national treasure kind of Indiana Jones feel to it, which is really fun. I really like when this show does do stuff like this, where the case of the week is something kind of fun and mysterious like this. So yeah, I really like that too. I like seeing Robert back. That was pretty cool. It was good to see sort of the back and forth with him and Reddington, where Reddington's kind of like, you owe me $50 million and we're gonna deal with that a little bit later.
I like how the whole there's just this whole thread of like, at some point we're gonna go to Malta. It's like, who? I would want to go to Malta. Malta seems like an interesting enough place. Like, that stuff, yeah, was really. I always enjoy having Vesco around. I know it hasn't been that many times, but I love Aram. I'm always going to be happy when, my guy Aram gets some screen time. And, I liked seeing Aram's parents in this episode. We see a little bit more of his homeworld.
Yeah, I was really worried actually that we might lose Aram and Amir from the show.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just a little bit because we did just lose Megan and then John Bokenkamp, that I was kind of like, oh no, no. Are we also losing Amir? It looks like no. So we had this storyline with Aram where his angel investor came through for, it seems like, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
His partner said, welcome to the 1%. So this is a crazy amount of money. I was worried that he was going to leave. My hope was that he was going to maybe, take some of this money but still work for the FBI. But it looks like instead his partner bought him out. It wasn't exactly clear that it was like he got enough money to like remodel his mom's kitchen.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of it went to, space camp, which is cool too. I was kind of surprised that he getting bought out for that much money, that there wasn't enough to just like, I made sure that my parents' house was settled out. They will want for nothing. My retirement money is put away, but guess what? I want to continue working, and this means everything to me. I feel, really good about myself at the end of the day. And I get that feeling.
Yeah.
Like I will work till the end of time. I love working. It gives me sort of a good sense of self-worth. So I get where he's coming from, but I would have wanted to be bought out properly.
I'll try to use a Shark Tank analogy since they brought it up in the episode.
That was so funny.
Let's just say, okay, Aram has got a deal here with Mr. Wonderful, for example.
Yeah,
Let's say, okay, Mr. Wonderful is on board with Aram. But then Aram is like, okay, well, I'm gonna go and do my FBI stuff. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't just it's Mr. Wonderful then like, okay, then I'm out, and then they lose all the money, and that's why he's not getting any of it. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, they weren't very clear about that. If this is a deal that only goes through if Aram is part of it. But I mean, couldn't they have worked something else out where maybe Aram sort of, if he's sort of the head of the company with his partner, I mean, his partner can be taking on a lot more of the day-to-day type stuff. And then with this amount of money, they could hire more people, and then Aram would still be able to work for the FBI. I feel like there was, with that amount of money, there was a way to make that happen where he could still have that money coming in and still own that business, but get to do the work that he really likes.
I wanted to see Aram walk in the next episode with all this money, like wearing like a purple velvet suit, and I don't know, having like some really like big gold-plated sunglasses, and just being like, "Hey, I'm Aram. I'm cool now." Okay, but listen, Amir, if you ever want to have some fun in real life, go get some sunglasses and a purple velvet suit. Yeah. Apparently, this is what rich people do.
Okay, so let's talk about how this all ended up for Dembe.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of stuff that I was truly enjoying about Dembe being an FBI agent, with the number one being that we are getting so much more screen time for him, which I am really enjoying. I love Dembe. He's one of my favorite characters. So it's been cool to see him interacting with everyone. We'll get to the wrestler of it all, but it was cool to see him figuring things out, taking a little bit of what he learned from Reddington, but putting it towards sort of his skills as an FBI agent. And I really loved at the end that he showed up on Reddington's plane and was like, "I'm FBI and I am here to take Robert in, and I'm gonna."
Yeah, and Reddington eventually lets him, and this scene with the showdown between Reddington and Dembe, it was fascinating because we still don't freaking know what happened like a year and a half ago that caused Dembe to leave Reddington. I mean, it seems as though there's still like an element of respect there. Mm-hmm. Like, they weren't punching each other in the face, they weren't calling each other names, but
they did call each other one important name, and that was friend.
Oh, wholesome.
No, I did like that a lot, that there was still that element of, I consider you a friend still. And then Reddington being like, okay, I'm going to step aside. I'm going to walk away from this. And we know that in the past, everything that Reddington does has another side to it where he's going to benefit in some kind of way. And this is one of the few times that we have seen where he's like, I'm on my way to get $50 million, Dembe. No, you're not. I'm taking him in. That Reddington didn't get everything he wanted.
That's a really good friendship if it's, you're losing $50 million because of it. I'm just saying. The other thing here that kind of makes me a little confused with Dembe and like the succession plan at Reddington's organization is like, I would be on here like throwing out some theory to you guys that maybe Dembe was just like looking around 6 months after Liz was dead and was just like, okay, there's not really anything happening. I want to be kind of a part of the action again. I want to just do something. But the flip side is Reddington has Weecha, who apparently can turn into, I don't know what that was, where she just like kill like 4 people in 2 seconds. So clearly there's still action that comes with working with Reddington.
That was the first time that I'm going to say that I actually really liked her. That was super badass.
It was, yeah, it was very, I want to say John Wick like, but I actually haven't seen John Wick, so I'm just going to be a poser in making the comparison.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. I like that all right. I'm still not sold on her yet. I feel like she's been kind of rude to some of my favorite characters that I like. I'm not down with that. But, it opened me up a little bit. I'll say that. She's very badass, and I'm starting to understand why he has her around, because she is very good at killing people.
Where do you learn to do that? Like, that's sort of the big question I have with her, that I don't know if we're going to get an answer. I don't know if we're not going to get an answer.
No, as long as we get an answer with the Dembe and Reddington and why they're not talking. And it seems like maybe down the road we might get that answer, so I hope so.
I will also say that because this entire episode was around like heists and stealing things, this was a golden opportunity for you guys to bring back Priya, who I really liked, and it seemed like all you guys liked her too.
Me too. I really liked her. You want to talk about badass? That is her. Priya was so good. I mean, I really hope she comes back.
What gives, guys?
I know.
Okay, so now we get to some of the other stuff that's going on in this episode. And the first bee in my bonnet I have here for Mr. Vesco is, let's talk a little bit about how you already had like your just sort of rebellious idiot who was in your group when you were doing your first little spiel, and then you were like, they're all under my control. So, do you remember like 5 minutes ago you had this idiot who was like arguing with you? How do you not already know that they're not under your control? You should have seen all of this coming, Vesco.
No, I agree. He should have seen some of this coming, but we did have that scene in the car where Reddington kissed him and gave him this sort of rousing speech where we did see that Robert's spirit was a little bit broken and he wasn't seeing things as clearly sort of as he was. So I'm going to give them a pass on that. I think that Robert was having some problems inside himself that he wasn't seeing everything as clearly as he once was.
Reddington's getting a lot of action. This is like the second episode in a row that he's gotten a kiss with some person who's guest starring on the show.
Yeah, he's getting around. He's kissing everybody.
Yeah, no, I was a little bit sort of confused about some of that. I mean, there were parts of the case of the week that I could sort of take or leave. It still doesn't feel like we're building forward towards a lot of like big mysteries. The Skinner, not even brought up in this episode whatsoever.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the bee in my bonnet, which is some of the writing for Wrestler in this episode. I mean, they're talking about a cult. She's like, oh, they're part of a cult. He's like, what do you mean? Wrestler, you know what a cult is. We all know what a cult is. You don't need this person to explain what a cult is. It felt like it was, I don't know, almost like they just don't know what to do with Wrestler now that Liz is gone, which is really disappointing because Diego is someone as an actor that we both really like. Yeah. We liked him on Homeland. We like him here. He's just someone that we really like. And when he's given really good material, he's like a 10 out of 10. He's really great. But the material in this episode for him just wasn't there. I mean, they've brought back in this drug problem that he had for like 2 or 3 episodes, like a million seasons ago, that was never brought up ever again. And then we saw it in the last episode. He was holding these pills, and I was like, okay, maybe he's on some kind of antidepressant or anxiety or something is going on with him. And now all of a sudden, in this episode, it's a problem again.
Yeah, it's kind of inconsistent, and I hope they give us more context into what's going on with it this time. Like, clearly he wants to work at the FBI still enough that he's going to go in there and, fail the old tinkle test. That's what I was trying to say.
It's a tinkle test.
Tinkle test is a very different thing.
That is a different
We don't need to get into that sort of test. No, the tinkle test, he decided he was going to just do his best to fake it so he could get a fake pass. Park calls him out on it. The thing was, he was like so grumpy with Dembe in this episode. Wasn't it like 1 week ago he was getting like some sage advice from Dembe?
Yeah, we had like the Dessler romance that we were super excited about. I am still feeling like this is going to come together. I really want to see this. But yeah, this week all of a sudden it felt like Wrestler was, I didn't know if he was kind of just displacing his anger towards Reddington, just dumping it all over Dembe, because it was pretty obvious with the coolness between Dembe and Reddington that they hadn't seen each other in a while, and there was a fallout. Like, that didn't feel faked. I was surprised that Wrestler was really like latching on to this. Oh, now you're working for the FBI, but you're still funneling information to Reddington. I mean, you're an FBI agent. There's no proof of this. There's no nothing of this, which is, and then goes back to what I was saying. I just feel like the writing wasn't there for Wrestler's character in this episode.
Yeah, I just come out of this thinking that Wrestler needs to take like some sort of a chill pill or whatever, because it didn't really work for him. And really, I can sort of extrapolate a little bit and just say that this episode, which it was very entertaining at times, but it also still felt like it had no real connection to the first two episodes at all. It felt like this could have sort of aired at any point during the season, and it would have almost been fine because there wasn't a lot of continuity. I guess the big sort of thing that is carried on is the Agnes of it all.
Yeah, so we saw that finally Cooper said yes, that it's okay for Reddington to see Agnes under supervision, which should be obvious to Reddington. I mean, he knows that he is a wanted criminal and everything that happened with Liz, that maybe he would have to have some sort of supervision. I thought he would have kind of thought that was a given. I didn't think that Reddington really thought that Cooper was just going to hand over Agnes and be like, see you later. So I was kind of surprised when Reddington said he had to think about it. At that point, I thought he would do anything. I mean, he's circling around her soccer practice and he'd be like, whatever it takes, man. Bring her out.
If you haven't seen someone in 2 years, and, you know, Reddington, Agnes is one of the most important things to him, I think really, if Cooper's like, do you want to see Agnes? I think he's like, okay, where, when, how far? I will do whatever I need to do. I will bungee jump out of this plane. Like, I think it's really, that sort of desperation wasn't there at first. And I think that sort of, I don't want to say it diluted the end of it, but it made it feel a little bit sort of strange because I almost felt like, well, if he had said yes right away, earlier, like this would have been like all the more meaningful at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would have done anything to see her. I mean, he is doing anything to see. He's sitting in a car across the street just to be that close to her, that Cooper saying, well, I need to be here too. Well, they have a pretty good relationship, Reddington and Cooper. So why would that be a problem? It's not like he's like, oh, you have to sit in a room with Wrestler and Agnes. It's like they have a fairly good relationship. So what's the big deal? I was a little surprised by that, but it was really cute at the end when Cooper was like, okay, I'll go get her. And he was so nervous.
Yeah, Spader did a good job with that. Like, you could really feel his nerves. You could feel, you know, his excitement when,
it's so cute.
When Agnes came in. At the moment Agnes, you're Pinky. I was like, oh, Pinky is back.
I know, right in my feels. So we'll see how that relationship ends up turning out, because Agnes did sort of connect him to right before her mom died. So is she then gonna maybe have that negative connection with him, that like, oh, this is the connection? Or is it going to be more like, you're sort of like one of the last people that saw my mom alive, now I'm extra connected to you? Because it could go that way too.
I'm really interested in this because we didn't see necessarily a lot of the conversations that Liz had with Agnes over time. We don't know what she was saying about Reddington or Pinky. I mean, granted, I'm sure she wasn't going home and being like to her kid, oh, this guy's a mass murderer, he did X, Y, or Z or anything.
No,
but
I like to feel like she protected Agnes.
I think she probably did, but there might be a couple of little stragglers somewhere in her brain that just exist, and maybe she'll pull out some of those. I hope that Agnes has like some sort of like interesting role that doesn't, you know, equate her as the new Liz, or just doesn't have her just being like shipped off various places so that they don't have to have a kid on the show.
Yeah, I think that they can give Agnes some sort of interesting role. I mean, there are lots of shows out there that have figured out how to give kids interesting roles, like over on This Is Us. All the kids have something to do and they have stories of their own, and that it doesn't just have to be, well, now Reddington has to have an empire to protect Agnes from nothing, because all the threats that were really around Liz are all kind of taken care of. Townsend's not around anymore. Nothing's really happening to Agnes. So I'd like to see Agnes have her own sort of story and a relationship with Red that isn't, I need to protect her, but more like a connection with Liz, with her mom, two people who loved her, and have the connection be something deeper than just, I need to protect you.
I think just coming out of this episode, like, I feel good about a lot of little things. I still want some sort of like larger motive. Like, I'm still kind of confused what Reddington's ultimate end game is at this point with a lot of this sort of stuff, and why he's really back. And I don't think that's clear right now.
No, it's not clear, but I'm still hopeful in my heart that Reddington is doing what he's doing for himself. I have said before, I'll say again, I'll say to the end of time,
Yeah.
he dedicated so much of his life to this 30-year project. Liz is not here anymore. It's time for Reddington. Reddington to go out and do for Reddington.
That's right, Reddington. Go out, feel yourself, have a good
That's
day.
right.
You know, enjoy your life, wear a bunch of fancy fedoras, go to auctions. Okay, well,
You're
anyway.
just gassing Reddington
That's-
up here on this video.
That's right, Reddington. I know you're watching 20 minutes in. Well, let us know in the comments. Hashtag tickle. What was it? Tickle test.
No.
No.
No,
See, no.
hashtag, no, please don't unsubscribe.
See-
Hit that subscribe button.
That is it's just making sure people are, are nice and awake and energized at the end of this video. Here's no tickle
Oh.
test. Just let us know what you think about episode 3. And hit that like button as well. You guys love this video, right?
Hit a like for the tickle test.
No, okay. We will never speak of
Oh
this
my
again.
goodness.
We
That's
will-
all right. Nobody's watching anymore.
All
It's
right,
20
that's
minutes
fine.
in.
We'll see you here next time.